Glory. That's what Noah Lyles is aiming for at the Tokyo World Championships. The reigning Olympic gold medalist is not just looking for a win. He is there to silence his doubters. He did achieve that to some degree with a comeback win in a 200m race against Botswana's Lyles Tebogo, 19.88 to 19.97, in Zurich last month. And now, his eyes are set on breaking Usain Bolt's 200-meter world record, 19.19, in Tokyo. That's been Noah Lyles' aim for the longest time. Back in August 2023, he said, "The 100 will be a lot closer once I get the first 10 meters down, so I'd say we're still quite a few years away from that one. But the 200? 2 years max. The 2 years are up. Now, can he break the world record in Tokyo? Well, Usain Bolt doesn't think so. The Jamaican star is also in Tokyo, attending his first World Athletics Championship since 2017, and will be awarding the medals to the athletes on the 100m podium. At a Puma event in the city, Bolt spoke about his records. "Records are bound to be broken someday," he stated. But with a grin, he also added, "However, there is no one in particular who looks likely to be able to break it right now. I'm not worried." That's a huge statement. Noah Lyles? Usain Thompson? Nope. Bolt believes his world records, 9.58 in the 100m and 19.19 in the 200m, will be untouched in Tokyo. Talking of Noah, he said, "He's a different type of athlete than me," and also added, "I'd like to keep an eye on who breaks it world record." The only person who is in Tokyo and comes close to Bolt's 100 record is Usain Thompson, who clocked 9.75 in the Jamaican Nationals and took the 6th place in the all-time 100m list. The 100-meter world champion is at number 12 with a time of 9.79s from the finals of the Paris Olympics. Though he is close to the 200-meter record, back in the 2022 U.S. trials, Noah Lyles clocked a time of 19.31s to become the third fastest man of all time in the 200m, after Johan Blake, 19.26, and Usain Bolt. Now that he has retained the same look, maybe there is a chance that he might do it. For that, Lyles will have to cut 0.12 of a second from his personal best, which is no mean feat. But if Bolt is to be believed, he doesn't think Noah Lyles will even win the 100-meter gold medal, let alone break his record. Usain Bolt counts Noah Lyles out of the 100-meter gold and silver. Noah Lyles' form hasn't exactly been great this year, so much so that Usain Bolt has no trouble counting him out for the gold, as well as the silver medal. At the Puma event, the Jamaican named 2 other sprinters who he believes are better placed to snatch the top 2 podium places. Usain and Oblique have already shown they are in shape. They should be 1 to 2 because they have proved throughout the season that they are on top and are running fast. Now it's just about one of them executing, and it should be fine. I'm very confident that they can get it done. And Bolt has got a point. Not only is Thompson's 9.75 closest to Bolt's 100-meter record as compared to the PBs of any other athlete currently in Tokyo, but it is also the fastest time anybody has legally clocked in the 100m in the last 10 years. Seville has also been consistently clocking sub-10s this season, while Lyles has struggled with injury and has only clocked a sub-10 once this season. Moreover, he has not won against the 2 sprinters this season. At the London Diamond League, Oblique Seville left Noah Lyles trailing, crossing the line in 9.86s, while Lyles came in at 10.00. Less than a month later, at the Silesia Diamond League, Usain Thompson left Lyles behind, clocking 9.87 to Lyles' 9.90. Then, just a few days later at the Lausanne Diamond League, Seville reminded everyone why he's such a threat, once again finishing ahead of the American star, 9.87 to 10.10. Now the 3 of them will face off in Tokyo. Do you think Usain Bolt is right with his predictions? Or will Noah Lyles bounce back and defend his gold medal? When Noah Lyles stepped onto the track at the World Championships, the energy inside the stadium was electric. The crowd was buzzing, the cameras flashing, and whispers carried through the stands about whether this was the night the heir to the sprint throne would finally shatter a record that had loomed like an unmovable mountain for over a decade. Everyone knew what was at stake. Usain Bolt's legendary 200-meter World Championships record of 19.19 seconds, a mark that seemed almost superhuman. For weeks, Lyles had teased the world with his form. Smooth strides, outrageous acceleration, and confidence that bordered on theatrical. He had talked about chasing history, about being the man to finally pull the baton of greatness from Bolt's giant shadow. Yet what unfolded that night wasn't just a race. It was a battle between eras, a clash of mythology, and a reminder that sometimes legends throw away more than just records. They throw away the chances of others trying to seize them. The build-up, a showdown written in lightning. Track and field has always thrived on rivalries, but this one was unique. Usain Bolt, long retired, wasn't even running. Still, his presence was everywhere. Highlight reels on the big screen, chants of Bolt, 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 echoing from the stands, and a record etched in the minds of fans as the holy grail of sprinting. For Lyles, the mental game was as fierce as the physical one. He had dominated the season, lowering his times with ease, crushing rivals like Letzel Tebogo and Andre de Grasse, and silencing doubters who once questioned his consistency. Coming into the championships, commentators weren't asking if he could run fast. They were asking how close to Bolt's record he'd get. But there was an invisible weight on his shoulders. Every interview, every press conference, every headline was tied to one name: Usain Bolt. It was as if the Jamaican legend, though retired, was still in the lanes, towering over him. The race begins. Lightning versus legacy. When the starter's gun cracked, the stadium erupted. Lyles exploded out of the blocks, his drive phase crisp and clean. By the 100-meter mark, he was already pulling away, his long, efficient strides eating up the track. The roar of the crowd built with each step. "Could this be it? Could this be the moment we've all been waiting for?" shouted the commentator as Lyles hit the curve with frightening speed. For a fleeting second, it looked inevitable. His form was perfect, his energy unmatched. The clock seemed ready to bow before him. But somewhere deep in the psyche of the sport, the spirit of Usain Bolt lingered. And then it happened. The Bolt effect. A shadow cast across the finish line. As Lyles entered the final 50 meters, fatigue clipped his wings. His head tilted slightly, his shoulders tightened, and the fluidity that defined his earlier stride faltered. The energy in the stadium shifted. It wasn't just about physical exhaustion. It was the weight of Bolt's ghostly presence. Fans rose to their feet, almost expecting the towering Jamaican to appear out of thin air and blaze past him. On the big screen, a replay of Bolt's 2009 Berlin run flashed in slow motion, side by side with Lyles' live attempt. The crowd gasped. The comparisons were merciless. Bolt, chest upright, grin wide, arms loose, had flown across the line like a man carried by thunder. Lyles, gritting his teeth, straining every muscle, fought for inches. When he crossed the finish line, the clock read 19.28 seconds. Brilliant. Historic. The fastest time the world had seen in years. But it wasn't 19.19. Bolt's record still stood. And in that moment, it felt as though Usain Bolt had thrown away Noah Lyles' chance. Not by running, but by existing as the untouchable standard. The aftermath. Cheers, tears, and shadows. The stadium erupted in applause. Lyles collapsed to his knees, his chest heaving. He had just delivered one of the greatest performances of his career. Yet his face told a different story. This wasn't joy. It was frustration, the bitter taste of almost. Bolt's face appeared on the stadium screens. Laughing from the archives, his arms spread wide in that iconic to-D world pose. Fans cheered louder for the ghost of a man than for the living sprinter who had just etched his name into history. In the post-race interview, Lyles tried to mask the disappointment. "I gave it everything," he said, sweat dripping down his face. "I thought tonight was the night." But records aren't easy for a reason. Bolt set the bar high, and I'm still chasing. The psychology of Bolt's shadow. The truth is, Noah Lyles didn't just race against Tebogo, DeGrasse, or any other athlete that night. He raced against a myth, a legend who looms larger than life. Usain Bolt didn't need to lace up his spikes. His legacy was enough to tighten the screws on every challenger's mind. It was almost cruel. Imagine painting your masterpiece, only to have it hung beside the Mona Lisa. No matter how brilliant your work, comparisons are inevitable. Bolt's shadow is more than a record. It's a psychological cage. Every fraction of a second that Lyles ran, he carried the weight of expectation, the whispers of history, and the question that won't leave him. Can anyone ever really escape Bolt? A twist in perspective. Did Bolt really throw it away? Some would argue that Usain Bolt didn't steal Noah Lyles' chance. In fact, Bolt gave him one. Without Bolt's mythical 19.19, Lyles' 19.28 would have been hailed as an era-defining masterpiece. But with Bolt's record still standing, Lyles' run becomes a story of pursuit, of drama, of unfinished business. In many ways, Bolt's shadow is what makes Lyles shine brighter. If the mountain weren't so tall, the climb wouldn't be so inspiring. But on that night, in that stadium, it didn't feel like inspiration. It felt like Bolt had slammed the record book shut, laughing as he tossed away Lyles' best chance. Looking ahead, will Lyles ever break free? This isn't the end of the story. Noah Lyles is still young, still hungry, and still improving. He knows the path is hard, but that's exactly what fuels him. Every near miss, every disappointment, every headline about Bolt's supremacy only sharpens his determination. The beauty of sport is that legends don't last forever. Even mountains erode, even shadows fade. Bolt's record will eventually fall. It's only a matter of time. The question is, will Lyles be the one to finally throw lightning back at the man who defined it? Until then, Usain Bolt remains the immovable figure at the heart of sprinting lore. He doesn't need to run anymore. With every failed attempt, every near miss, every almost, Bolt throws away the chances of those who follow, reminding them that greatness is not given, but earned through the rarest alchemy of talent, timing, and destiny. Conclusion: lightning in a bottle. Noah Lyles ran like a champion, but Usain Bolt's legacy turned the night into something more than a race. It became a story of eras colliding, of shadows and light, of how one man's record can define another man's destiny. In the end, Bolt didn't just hold the record. He held Lyles back, not with spikes or speed, but with the sheer gravity of greatness. And that's the paradox of track and field. Sometimes, the fastest man alive isn't the one running down the track, but the one whose shadow makes every stride a battle against history. Let us know your thoughts in the comments.